Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. If you watched my tips and tricks for trying to conceive video, and then my other video about finding out that I was pregnant with our little baby girl due in March, then I hope you're back to hear about my experience in the first and second trimester. Somebody who was really pumped and over prepared for getting pregnant. Can't say that the first trimester went anything like I thought it was gonna go, and so for all of you moms who are like me, who think you know what you're getting into, I think this would be really informative, and if you don't, then I hope this doesn't turn you off for trying, because it definitely got better after my first trimester. I hope that you're not scared after watching this for some of my symptoms, because every pregnancy is so different. I learned that from binge watching way too many pregnant mom channels before we got pregnant, and I certainly hope that my next pregnancy will go a little smoother for the first 20 weeks. You may have none of the symptoms, you may have all of the symptoms, you may have ones that I didn't experience, and so I'd love for you to comment down below what your experience was, and we can kind of have that community together. But now I'm going to go ahead and get started with my first trimester and my experience. So if you watched my finding out I was pregnant video, you know that I got a faint line at 9 DPO. I had been using ovulation tracker strips, and I had been doing my basal body temperature every day, so I could see when my body temperature dropped, indicating that I had ovulated. So I was tracking from like that moment on. Sperm can live in the uterus anywhere from 3 to 5 days, and so there's no guarantee exactly when the egg was fertilized, but your egg is only viable for about 24 hours. And so I pretty much knew within about a day of when I ovulated and the egg would have been fertilized if it took. And then, of course, implantation is a whole nother game. For any of you that watch Lex Fitzgerald's channel, she talks about with her first two that she got a positive on day 9. So this should have been no pressure to me, but I wanted to be like that overachiever that knew before it was even possible. And so I put a lot of time into that pregnancy test I took on 9 DPO. And I literally cut out like 4.5 minutes of footage of me just like holding up the pregnancy test and being like, but eventually held it up in just the right light and got a very faint line. Wasn't sure if I just imagined it and had line eyes. I got all emotional because I'm pretty sure I saw a line, and if you see a line at all, that means you're pregnant. So I told myself I was going to wait till the next day to take another one. It was 4th of July. We were with family. I did not wait. As soon as we got home from family, I took another pregnancy test, and it was darker, indicating that I was pregnant and things were moving in the right direction already. So it was super emotional again, obviously, completely shell-shocked. It was our first month trying, so I didn't really expect it to happen. In fact, I had told my husband, like, hey, I'm not having any weird symptoms. I'm not getting any lines really at this point. I feel normal. I don't really think that this is taken. And so I had pretty much already like told myself that we weren't getting pregnant this first month. And then I was okay with it because I could use another month to drink all of the alcoholic beverages in my fridge and just enjoy another month having my body to myself. Even though obviously I wanted to be pregnant. If you watch my TTC video, you know I was doing literally anything I could to get us pregnant that first month trying. And so I, just to make sure again, took a digital on 10 DPO and it said pregnant. And so that was really the first morning that I was like, wow, okay, this is really happening. And now I need to tell my husband right now. So there's a short little video of me telling my husband that we're pregnant. I had like a really nerdy Pokemon Go reference, so it like took him a minute to decide like what I was trying to tell him, and it was super awkward because he was running late to go play Airsoft. But I just like needed to tell him right that second. And because I'm me, I continued to take pregnancy tests for like another 2 weeks. to feel good that my HCG levels were doubling appropriately like they were supposed to be. And so that's probably a little extra. So I kept taking pregnancy tests. I took these until I ran out like 9 days later because I had been stockpiling pregnancy tests. I'm holding this one. I still have this one because this is that very first pregnancy test I took. But again, you still can't see that like itty bitty tiny faint line. But it's there and I keep it because it's going to go in her memory box. But then I took the like cheap Pregmate ones literally until after I got a diastealer. So I keep those two. Eventually I'll get rid of those and just keep this one. But for anybody out there who's like me and you will continue to take pregnancy tests until you run out because it makes you feel better that your lines are getting darker, I'm right there with you, sister. So symptoms. I found out I was pregnant at 3 weeks and 5 days, I think. And from there to like 6 weeks, I felt literally nothing. I was walking every day because I was bound and determined to be active and work out my whole pregnancy and be super fit and healthy and prepared for labor by the end of all of it. Totally unprepared for what was about to hit me. Everything was going great this first 6 weeks, and so I was really excited. And then I started having really intense pains in like where I imagined my ovaries would be in my anatomy. And so I was really starting to get afraid that these like sharp pains that I were getting was a sign that it was ectopic. And so I really pushed my OB to do an ultrasound really early. Typically you can hear the heartbeat around 7 weeks, and I knew that I was around 7 weeks because of, again, my ovulation tracking and everything. So we did one really early, right at 7 weeks, and she was dating like 5 days behind. So she was like 6 weeks and 2 days, and so I was super nervous because there was no reason for her to be dating 5 days behind. Knowing when we had sex and when I ovulated. And so I was nervous then, but they determined it was not ectopic. And so I basically have come to the conclusion that I've had round ligament pain since basically 5 weeks, which is relatively unheard of, but happened to me. Honestly, it was really hard for me to get attached knowing that she was dating so far behind. So even at the 7-week ultrasound, I wasn't super emotional or super attached yet, which was really weird and discomforting for me because I had been so excited and so pumped for pregnancy that I just thought I was going to be like an ecstatic emotional wreck, and seeing her on the ultrasound was going to be just like the coolest experience of my life. And like I said, I was just so worried that we were going to lose it that I didn't want to get attached. So about 7 weeks is when I started getting really exhausted at night. About 5 o'clock, I would get done with work and just like go get in bed and binge watch baking and cooking shows until 11 o'clock when it was finally acceptable to fall asleep. About 7.5 weeks, the morning sickness kicked in. And then by 8 weeks, it went from morning sickness to full on all day nausea. And shortly after that, I would throw up once or twice a day, and it got to the point where I was throwing up 3, 4, and 5 times a day by the end of my first trimester. And the end of your first trimester is when most people start seeing a decrease in all of those fun symptoms, and things getting back to normal. And for me, they were just getting worse. I was throwing up more. It's kind of like a vicious cycle because to help with the nausea, you should be eating light, small meals throughout the day. But I was so nauseous, I didn't want to eat. And then I would eat and I would throw up. And then I was even more exhausted because I had no calories. I had no nutrients in my body. I was taking my prenatals on and off because I knew I needed to. But honestly, like I just didn't want anything on my stomach. And I was trying to be stubborn and do it naturally and be super granola crunchy and do everything I could to just be natural during this pregnancy. So I resisted going to the doctor and getting on medication. But I got to the point where I'd lost like between 12 and 15 pounds. And we got to week 13, I think, of pregnancy. And I was still showing signs that it was full speed ahead. I was going to feel like this for a while. And so I talked to my doctor about it. She prescribed me Zofran as needed during the day, and then promethazine, which is actually an antihistamine, and it's supposed to make you drowsy, so I would take it at night. And I basically would just rotate the Zofran 2 or 3 times a day if I needed it, every 8 hours is needed, and then the promethazine at night. If I would forget to take one, I was nauseous and miserable the whole next day. But thankfully those 2 things helped. So if you're experiencing really intense nausea and vomiting, honestly, like, keep yourself healthy. There's plenty of research out there that shows that those medications are totally safe in pregnancy. Women have been taking Zofran for decades, I think, at this point. Obviously talk to your doctor about it. I'm just one human who has not gone to medical school, but it would have been really nice to enjoy my first trimester, and I just didn't because I was being so stubborn about it all. Honestly, I've had this conversation with Wes a couple of times, but like, if we had lost the pregnancy those first like 15 weeks, like, I don't know when he would have been able to convince me to start trying again, because I was so miserable. Like, I was getting depressed because my days consisted of laying in bed, feeling miserable all day, every day. I'm so thankful that I was able to work from home during this time, because I was able to go take naps in the middle of the day, and I was able to turn my Zoom camera off and go throw up in the middle of a business meeting. I ended up having to tell my coworkers way earlier than I meant to, because I wanted to explain why I was running out in the middle of meetings. The other thing that was kind of weird, I've heard like your taste buds change and whatnot, and your cravings are so unique and whatever, but the thing that was like honestly the weirdest to me is that all of my favorite foods started tasting bad or unappealing, probably partially because of the nausea and whatnot, but I'm a coffee fiend. Like, I could go through 4 or 5 cups of coffee and like expensive fancy coffee lattes with oat milk, because that's the best. And I did not want coffee. In fact, I tried to a couple of times because I was so tired, and there's enough research that says small levels of caffeine are safe in pregnancy, and so I was trying to drink coffee and it didn't taste good. I didn't want it. I wasted it, and so I stopped trying to drink coffee first trimester. The only foods that did sound good that I ate a lot of, and still eat a lot of 28 weeks later, Chick-fil-A. Ate so many chicken nuggets, chicken strips, waffle fries. If it's a potato product, I pretty much ate it during my first trimester, but French fries have just been like probably number 2 craving of pregnancy. French fries are still like the number 1 craving, but at that time, my only other craving that I really had was sour candy. Like, I could not get enough of Sour Patch straws and Sour Patch Kids and gummy worms, like, you name it. Sour candy was where it was at for me. And so that kind of transitioned away from sour candy into like anything dessert. So pies, cookies, yogurt, pudding, just like all the sweets. And that's weird for me because like I'm the type of kid that growing up, I didn't even eat my own birthday cake because I didn't really like sweets that much. At that point I was losing weight so fast that I didn't even care if I was consuming a lot of calories from sweets when I did get it in, because I still wasn't consuming like more than 900 calories a day. So anyway, that's kind of my first trimester in a nutshell. It was rough. It was really rough. And then it was pretty disheartening moving into my second trimester and it still being really rough. But thankfully, I got medicated. If I skipped my medicine up until like 26 weeks, I was still nauseous and would throw up. But I was really good about not skipping my medicine after those 2 or 3 times where I accidentally did and was sick again all day. I started getting some energy back. It didn't really come back until about 18 weeks is when I started feeling more normal and like myself, and like getting back into the routine at work and being productive again and starting to like get a little bit nesty feeling and cleaning up the house. So Wes and I got back into the good habit of like keeping our dishes caught up and staying caught up on laundry and sanitizing everything and really like looking at what does the nursery look like and finishing my registry. So that was pretty cool. That was when I started to get attached. It was kind of funny. We thought around 15 weeks that I felt her kick, and I was in bed one night and I'm like, Wes, come feel her kick really quick. And so he like put his hand on the outside of my stomach, which is really for the most part way too early for the partner to be able to feel, but I was optimistic. And so he thought he was feeling her kick. Come to find out, at that point in your pregnancy, you're still carrying like below your belly button, and where like I had him feel was like directly to the side of my belly button. And I kind of confirmed with my doctor that like, no, that probably was not her kicking, it was probably gas bubbles. So we got like all emotional and excited over gas bubbles. So at my 17-week appointment, she asked if I had felt a kick, and I said no. And then like 2 days later, I felt her kick for the first time. So that was really cool. And kind of when it started to get real for me. We did the blood test that you can do that comes back with like chromosomal anomalies or anything like that. Because it was like $99. It was our first pregnancy. And so I just wanted the peace of mind that if anything was wrong genetically, it wouldn't have changed our decision to keep the pregnancy by any means, but like it would have been nice to have the heads up. But the added benefit is you find out the gender. So we found out the gender right at 13 weeks, like right as I transitioned from first to second trimester. Gave the test results to a friend. The only time that we could do it was like a week and a half later, so I didn't get to find out the results of the test for a week and a half, longest week and a half of my life. Found out we were having a girl. The other thing that was kind of strange is I had, I guess, a miscommunication with my doctor, and she basically told me like due to COVID, they weren't seeing patients like as often and really unless it was necessary. So I thought like I wasn't supposed to have another like appointment with her until like 20 weeks. And she wasn't even present for that 7-week ultrasound that I did. And so I literally like saw my doctor at 4 weeks when they did the confirmation that I was pregnant through a urine test, and like met the doctor, asked the questions. And then at 16 weeks, I sent them a message via like our My Mercy portal and was like, hey, I'm just curious. I know I'll have a 20-week anatomy scan, but you weren't at my last ultrasound. So when will I see you again? Like, when do I have another doctor's appointment? And she was like, oh, well, we should have been doing one with you every 4 weeks, and you're now past due for your 16-week appointment. So let's go ahead and get you scheduled for your 17-week, and then go ahead and get the anatomy scan scheduled. So we did that. So I went from 4 weeks to 17 weeks without a doctor's appointment. Most people get to do an ultrasound around 12 or 13 weeks, which is when the baby actually starts looking like a baby and not a tadpole. But we didn't do that because I didn't have that appointment. So it was just really hard again to like really be attached to her until I started feeling her kick. The anatomy scan was done outside of my doctor's office at a perinatologist because I guess they have better equipment. And so Wes wasn't allowed to go because of COVID. He was allowed to be on FaceTime with me. So my husband, unfortunately, did not really get a great look at our baby, but I did. And that was really like the, wow, this is real. She's healthy. There's nothing wrong with her. Confirmation that she was in fact a girl. We got some really cute, we got one really cute video of her wiggling around that they sent us, and lots of pictures of all of our appendages, and, you know, got to see the heartbeat again. And so that was really cool. So anyway, that was 20 weeks. My doctor actually moved out of the Mercy Network and opened our own practice. And so in the month of December, we kind of freaked out a little bit about I was going to be due for my gestational diabetes test, and I was on Mercy only insurance, so I wasn't sure if she would be covered. I was concerned whether or not I was even going to have to find a new OB. So we actually ended up switching insurances so I could follow her. And it worked out really well because she had an ultrasound machine in office, and she let Wes come in, and he actually got to be there for that ultrasound. And so we did a really impromptu one at 25 weeks and got to see her in confirmation again that everything looked normal. And basically after 17 weeks, she's never stopped kicking. She kicks and kicks and kicks and kicks and kicks and rolls. And we're not talking like little baby flutters. We're talking like from like 22 weeks on, she like painfully punch or kicks me. So she's going to come out and be like an all-star soccer player. The The one thing that I didn't really expect is that they go through growth spurts just like they do outside of the uterus when they're here for real. And so there would be like 2 weeks where I would feel her kick all the time, all day. And then I would go through like 3 or 4 days where I'd start getting really concerned that I wasn't feeling her moving much or wasn't feeling her kick much, and she wasn't responding to orange juice or cold drinks or laying on my side or laying on my back or anything like that. And so we'd get out the little in-home Doppler that we have, hear her heartbeat, kind of everything was fine, and then like the next day she'd start really kicking and picking up again. So I've just learned that if I stop feeling her move for a couple of days, that it's probably fine. I'm such a worrywart that, you know, like, I gotta use the Doppler. It's there. It's a free resource. Why wouldn't I? As far as like symptoms, one of the side effects of Zofran is constipation. I wasn't, TMI, probably a super regular human anyway. So I would literally go like 4 or 5 days without going to the bathroom. I mean, I was peeing all the time, but like the other way. And I was starting to get really concerned that I was gonna like burst a bowel from not going to the bathroom. And so, in addition to my prenatals and the nausea medicine and Prilosec and heartburn, like Tum stuff, because heartburn has been really bad this entire pregnancy and acid reflux. I started taking stool softeners on top of that. So I literally take like 8 pills at night, every night. But that's okay. I really slowly during the second trimester started gaining back the weight that I lost. And so overall now I'm 28 weeks and I've gained about a net 5 pounds. I've actually gained back like the 12 to 15 that I lost, plus the 5, so I don't know if that means that I've gained 5 pounds or if that means I've gained 17 pounds, but do with that information what you will. They did the like fundal measurement at my last appointment this last week at 28 weeks, and she's measuring about 27 weeks in measurements, but at my last ultrasound she was measuring right on her due date. So I think she's healthy, and I think the amount of weight that I'm gaining at this point is probably healthy. But my appetite has really picked back up at the end of the second trimester. I snack all day and have to eat all day because I'm so hungry if I don't. So anyway, second trimester has been really great. Very, very, very attached. Very much want to nest all the time. That's kind of my first and second trimester recap. Super, super, super excited for her to be here. She, little like 11 and a half weeks till I'm due, which is insane. So at some point I hope that I'll do a third trimester recap before she's born. But if you stuck with me this long, thank you so much. We really appreciate it. We appreciate the love and support. If you liked the video, please give it a like. If you would like to see more videos about the things that I didn't expect to come in pregnancy, because there were a lot, definitely subscribe and stay tuned for that video. But for now, again, thank you so much for watching this long, and stay tuned. Bye.